we need a ghar wapsi for the doctors who have migrated outside India.
Today's episode is especially exciting for us because who we have with us today is a leader, Mr. Gautam Khanna, who's the CEO of PD Hinduja Hospital and Medical Research Center.
We are almost 75 years old. We've been known for clinical excellence in research worldwide. Our marketing team had done a survey to ask the patients why they come to Hinduja. That they come to Hinduja because they think that we do what is best for them. There have been instances where my ethics and integrity was tested and I did stay firm on that. I did pay a little price for that from the business perspective, but I think that helped me define who I am.
One myth about hospital CEOs that you'd like to bust.
The biggest myth about hospital CEOs, which I think I have already busted, is that non-doctors cannot be the CEO of a hospital.
Hello and welcome everyone to The Bold Voices, a one-of-a-kind initiative by Voice of Healthcare, where we have tried to bring together the healthcare leaders of the fraternity just to have real and remarkable conversations in and around what's happening towards the healthcare industry. Also trying to dive a bit more towards their personal leadership journey. What we're trying to do is bring together visionary leaders who are transforming the Indian healthcare industry and helping us shape healthcare delivery the way it is today. Now, today's episode is especially exciting for us because who we have with us today is a leader whose journey spans across manufacturing to the healthcare delivery, and also whose vision and leadership has been continuing to shape one of the most respected and reputed institutions in the healthcare industry today, Mr. Gautam Khanna, who's the CEO of PD Hinduja Hospital and Medical Research Center. In this conversation, what we are trying to do is to explore his personal leadership journey, pivotal career moments, and also how we are leveraging technology to build the future of healthcare industry and how technology has specifically shaped up the institution the way it is today. And of course, we'll wrap it up with a very interesting fireside chat where we'll try to have some dig up towards his personal leadership lessons as well. So before we start, Mr. Khanna, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you, Khushbu. Thank you for having me on the show.
Right. So as I said in the introduction, sir, what we are trying to do is also try and understand before healthcare happened towards your journey. I'm sure there has been a story behind that as well. Taking a step back, now I know there has been decades in the healthcare journey, but taking a step back before Hinduja happened towards your career, towards the start of the career journey, could you just help us understand what make you shift towards the healthcare industry before what happened, and were there lessons for us to understand?
Khushbu, it's a little long story, but not too much time to share it. But I have to say that I landed up in the healthcare industry, but not in the hospital space. That was the second job of my career, and I was asked to build the healthcare business for 3M in India. That time it used to be Birla 3M. So I spent 22 years in 3M building the 3M healthcare space, which is in medical devices and other consumables, etc. for the hospital space. I did, like you mentioned, I did help set up two manufacturing plants and labs and set up the operations in the country for sales and CNF and like a regular normal corporate business job. And what happened over 22 years is that over a period of time, I realized that we are in an industry or a sector which is the end result is to help the patient. So it used to be in my mind that is there a way to contribute to the society and help the patients in some little more direct manner than being a supplier to the hospitals. Somehow this opportunity came, and I think the Hinduja group has been in the forefront of hiring professionals who are not necessarily from the hospital space. And then I thought to myself, I said, if I have to contribute, anyway, hospitals are more than 75% or 80% of the healthcare sector. So if I have to contribute there, so maybe it's time for me to make the move. And I did join here. So I've had the experience of the other side, like a regular corporate job, and then I moved here around 12 years ago.
So while, you mentioned that if not care delivery, if not directly the hospital, you were related to the healthcare industry from the manufacturing end, but I'm sure you might have come across a lot of leaders, people who might have helped shape the career the way it is. So would you like to, help us with some examples, some anecdotes there?
So the first leader, there are a couple of them, if you don't mind, and maybe I'll just...
Please.
So the first leader whom I shall name, but the others I may not be able to name, I never met him, but I always heard of him. I was in this proximity was JRD Tata. I never met him. but I really liked the way he was a visionary. And I don't know how many people know, but his strength was developing very strong people who used to run his companies, absolutely ethical and focused on excellence. I've read about his examples about how he would take care of small things also to improve the quality in his couple of companies. So that is what I was inspired from a distance. But over my journey, I've had many seniors who have helped me. I mean, for example, from one gentleman who is I really like now, is he taught me the focus on communication as to how much, when we communicate to the organization, nothing is enough. More the better, and the reason behind it. And I learned from him, and things like how to present, etc. There's another leader who's an American. His focus was only on excellence. So what I thought was excellence turned out to be 98%, and he taught me to be 100%. So I learned from there. And there was another leader who was British. He taught me how to develop strong teams and how to help them grow. And there was another gentleman, Indian, who I worked with. He was also focused on excellence. And at that point in time, I used to wonder, why is he pushing me so much when I've done so well? And then I realized later that that was his way of making me push the limits and do a little extra. And these leaders, and there are many more, and I'm very thankful to them over the years, and I can't name all of them, but I think all of them have taught me something or the other. And I've realized that at that particular point in time, it seems strange why they are doing this, but later on it helps. And that is my thought to the viewers of this podcast, is sometimes they may not realize, but their leaders and the supervisors really do have their good interest at heart, and they may be pushing you for a different reason. So maybe that's a short summary.
We may not realize at that given point of time. Thanks, sir. While we are still in the phase of trying and understand the earlier phases of life, and why we know that there were some definite people that helped shape the career where it is, I'm sure, sir, there might be some instances, some moments that have shaped up the career the way it is. Would you like to help us understand from the deviation from, let's say, 3M to Hinduja? Were there any specific moments that helped shape the journey so far?
I think there have been many. And if I recall that even while in my previous job, there have been moments where I have, like for example, I took a decision to take up higher responsibility, and without any expectation of a higher position, and moved to a different city because the organization needed that. And I did that, and that rewarded me later, because then I grew the business, and I grew with that, and so on and on. So I think sometimes that was an event. I think that was a turning point for my career. Then the other event which shaped me was when we were, at some point in time, our team was not doing very well, the division I was handling. And I had to learn how to motivate them. And not for this podcast, but I've had to do, and my team, whoever is listening today from my past company, will know what I'm talking about. We had a session which was called something about beating the fire or something like that. And I did things which I think at this age I would not do. But at that point of time, I did it because I wanted to inspire the team and lead from the front. And that really turned the team around, and that year our team became the best performance, etc. But there are other instances that when I became a little senior leader, first time I was tested for my values about the ethics and integrity. So there have been instances where I had some brush up with some people where my ethics and integrity was tested, and I did stay firm on that. I did pay a little price for that from the business perspective, but I think that helped me define who I am. There was another instance where I had to stand up for an employee who was being asked to leave unjustly, which I did stand up to the superiors. So I did pay a price for that. but then it reinforced me as a person, and it started building the values for me. And then there have been many instances, but I'm going to just share one instance before Hinduja. In my previous role, there was a crisis of SARS, which happened in 2008. And I was young at that time, and that time I was responsible for supplying the consumables for respirators, etc., to the country, and we had a shortage. So I was in the middle of a shortage in the country, where I was the only supplier, and I knew that there are things which we were making in India, the quantities are not enough, and so that event helped me learn a little bit about crisis management and how to plan for, to which stakeholders to take care of, how to plan my inventories, how to plan the team to work, and how to communicate with the first time I brush with the TV media on live television. So, those really helped me build my, let's say, attributes which I think helped me in my leadership journey. I don't know if it answers your question, but
does. It absolutely does. Now, moving towards now, since you've spent more than a decade here, sir, in Hinduja, while during the early days and leading the institution the way it is now. As from the outside, we see Hinduja as a prestigious institution which is known about the patient safety and the quality of the care that we have. But then, from the backside of the story, sir, if you would like us to, know some things about how maybe some challenges or some specific points that you as a leader make sure that remains intact, leading an institution such as Hinduja.
Khushbu, it's a very interesting question because, see, we are almost 75 years old. So when you are a 75-year-old institutions, many things remain the same, but the external environment may change. So we have to sometime adapt to that. And we've been known for clinical excellence in research worldwide, excellence in teaching, education, and of course our focus on, we do charity for the needy patients and our rural programs. So in a lot of activities, we have been very well known and good reputation over the decades. But what is challenging for a person like me who came here is to help keep the institution, keep its values intact, but also prepare for the future. So one of the biggest challenges has been that the old guard who had the values was leaving, means the people who were actually deliver patient care. How do we instill the same quality and care mindedness to the new people who are joining the organization? So we've had challenges. For example, the biggest challenges is that you and I speak in this room about that we will give good patient care, but the good patient care is not given by us. It is given by the person who meets the patient at the door, who's in the room, who helps a patient. So how do we ensure the same ethos is transmitted across generations? So we've worked on that. We've had communication sessions. We've reinforced the message that the way they need to treat their patients, because see, many people don't understand complex things. We cannot say, please excel in quality with dealing with patients. Workers don't understand that. They say, tell us what we need to do. So you have to simplify and tell them that you need to treat the patients as you would treat your family member. So that quickly simplifies for them. They know what level of care you have to give. Then you have to say, what we do is that you do not differentiate in the care between a person in the deluxe room or person in a general class. So same doctors, same medicines, same care. So that reinforces the ethos of quality healthcare for all, which our hospital is known for. So this is two examples. The other example, what we do, for example, we don't allow any tips in the hospital. So patients cannot give a tip because, that is something which differentiates from a person who can give tips versus person who cannot give tips, and the care differentiates. So we don't allow that. And that keeps the culture going. The important thing, this is from the service point of view, and plus we have always reinforced that, irrespective of anything, all our organization and people need to know only three things. Like all organizations, three things. Patient care. Absolute patient care. Second, do whatever you are doing with efficiency. Within corporate language, you will say corporate efficiency and so on and on. And we'll just say you do things, whatever you're doing at lower cost and at little faster. Easy for people to understand. Third thing, a hospital delivery of care to the patient is a teamwork. So without collaboration across departments, without collaborations across levels, this cannot happen. So if people remember these three things, patient, a little bit of efficiency, and third is collaboration, with ethics, things will work. And the other important thing for a hospital like ours is to reinforce the value of ethics and transparency, which is what we do. So even all our charges, all the things which we do in terms of how we communicate, everything is transparent and open. And you will be happy to know that we had done a survey, our marketing team had done a survey to ask the patients why they come to Hinduja. So we were very happy to receive the feedback that they come to Hinduja because they think that we do what is best for them. So that has helped us refine our team and reinforce the message to our organization that we will do what's best for the patients. So that's an example. Now coming towards the clinical side. So along with this, you need clinical excellence. So for clinical excellence, one of the things which we've been encouraging all the clinicians to do is, of course, they teach. So when they teach, when they do research, they learn. So they are at the frontiers of science. But we also help them in terms of launch new clinics. For example, we have launched multiple specialty clinics. So where 2 or 3 consultants from different specialty will come across to address a patient disorder. For example, IBD, and there are many super specialty clinics which are launched. We've also encouraged our clinicians, and they are now free to suggest new things, what is required. For example, we started palliative care in the city of Bombay, first one. We have now launched geriatric care. We are the first one in the country to talk about living will. So we have been at the frontiers of pushing the envelope for patient care and what is needed for patient, along with giving good patient experience. On a lighter side, we do organize live musical concerts for patients in our hospital. So where patients in the rooms can see live performance and their relatives can join, and many things we do. So this keeps the service side. Now the biggest challenge for our hospital, which is 75 years old, is going to be the infrastructure is also old. So now we have to upgrade the infrastructure in a running organization. It's like changing the wheel of a car while the car is speeding at 100 kilometers an hour. So that, managing that a little bit along with service delivery without disruption to hospital are some of the challenges in the hospital. I can go on and on, but let me stop here.
So we also described a bit about policy changes and how healthcare as an institution is trying to bring together, probably striving for some changes towards the policy making. Now, as a leader in the healthcare industry, sir, are there any visions or changes that you look forward to in terms of making sure that there is an equitable access and innovation towards the healthcare delivery?
So you talked about equitable access to healthcare to the population of the country. So let's try and break the access means what? It means physical access, that people are able to reach the hospital. There is a hospital. People are able to access the service. That means access to a physician. And people are able to pay for it, access. So let's talk about the three. So when you talk about the physical access, that means more infrastructure. What we need is more beds across the country, in different parts of the country, in different cities. And from that perspective, we have been requesting the government, and government has done it in the past, to provide some tax incentives, because a hospital which is set up will not break even for 5-7 years. So if there is a infrastructure loan at lower rates, if there are some tax benefits, and if there is some scheme like how government has supported some manufacturing industries by PLI, so that can really help the hospital to recover faster and help the patients. So that's the infrastructure policy help we need from the government. From the other the request we've been making the government, and government has done very well in the past few years, is the access to the soft infrastructure, which is the doctors, number of doctors, number of nurses, number of allied health professionals. So government has increased number of DNB seats. They're opening more medical colleges, more nursing, more allied healthcare. But I think one of the biggest challenges is to help doctors and the nurses and the professionals to go and work outside the metros. Now, to work outside the metro where they can provide the clinical services to the population of the country, we need infrastructure which is outside the hospital. We need them to have a life which people would want to live. So I think there is some government has to do. We don't have to do that, but government can only encourage by making more colleges and more DNB, which they are anyway doing, and that can increase a little more. The third thing in this, in addition to what the government is doing, I think one of the things which we requested to the government in a previous conversation is like how government has been focused on, for brain drain. They've been saying we need to get the brain drain back for technology. I think we need a ghar wapsi for the doctors who have migrated outside India. So they should come back to India and help in whichever fashion they can. Only government can do that. I cannot do that. And now from financial access, I think the way to give financial access is that there is a certain category of population which can pay for their own treatment, irrespective of which part of the world they are. So that is not our consideration. There is another segment which is covered through multiple government schemes, like government has launched the PMJY, the Ayushman Bharat. Many states have launched their state-specific schemes. That really helps one category of patients. But biggest is the middle-class people who need more help. So we've requested the government to help with an insurance policy for the missing middle. And I think that will help the financial access. So I'm not able to solve the problems of the country, but these are some suggestions on how to improve equitable access.
Right, sir. And now, since now we are towards the conclusion of the discussion, sir, before we wrap this discussion up, I'd like to take a moment and have a quick round of questions where I'd request maybe a liner or a word, whatever comes to your head, the first thing, we'd request your response accordingly. Right. So the first question that I have is one word that you would use to describe your leadership style.
I've been told by my team member, it is democratic. So,
if you weren't a CEO, what career would you be pursuing?
If I was not a CEO, I would probably be a professor or a mentor, or maybe some tech developer or something. I don't know what, but maybe that.
All right. So your morning ritual that keeps you focused?
I think I do some exercises and meditation, etc.
A bold decision that made you paid off?
I think the boldest decision for me, actually maybe two if I can mention. One is when I moved from the devices side to run the hospital, because it's infinitely more complex. I had not done it before, and I think I've been able to contribute much more in this. So I think it was bold because the industry doesn't encourage such cross-sector movement. And second, I think my work during COVID was quite a challenge, where we did things where we learnt many leadership lessons. I had to change my leadership style from being just democratic and delegation to more directive, and acquiring knowledge across the world from everybody was focused on that, multiple stakeholder management, and just doing the right thing despite opposition from multiple people, and not being scared. So I don't know, maybe it's a long answer to a short
No.
question.
I mean, just to add, COVID, yes, was I think one of the most testing times for the entire healthcare fraternity, not just India but globally. But we all know how Hinduja made headlines into how the care delivery was made towards the forefront. So kudos to you, the
So we
institution.
did actually, since you mentioned that, the first patient in Bombay in private was diagnosed with us. So whatever we did in terms of protocols and the way we organized patient care and each and everything which we did was taken as reference by other hospitals in the city, which was taken as a reference in other parts of the country. So I think what we did during COVID really helped the country in a big manner. So I'm very thankful to my team who worked that time, clinical and non-clinical, continuous 24 hours a day, and I think I'm really grateful to them.
Yeah, no, that's how I said that we all know how Hinduja made headlines into patient care and how, the journey has been. So kudos to the entire team, sir.
Absolutely.
Right. So the next question, one myth about hospital CEOs that you'd like to bust.
The biggest myth about hospital CEOs, which I think I have already busted, is that non-doctors cannot be the CEO of a hospital. So I think that's not true. And the other thing which is not true is that the CEO's job is only looking at P&L, which is not true. CEO's job is to look at how to get patient care and build empathy and compassion along with the efficiency, etc., and build a strong team.
Right. A book or a podcast that recently inspired you?
A book which has inspired me, I've read, I don't know, some of you may know, it's called Autobiography of a Yogi. And book I'm reading now is Winning with AI. So I'm now really inspired by that. But I think that is more for my personal knowledge. But more I've been inspired for the hospital and healthcare operations are multiple books by very famous Dr. Atul Gawande. He's written beautiful books, and I think his philosophy about patient care and what we should do really inspired me.
Your mantra in one line, life or leadership? Any quote that you live by?
I think we need to think of life as a marathon. So just continue to do, and just do tomorrow, make it better than today, and focus on growth. However, while being focused on growth, we need to remember that an individual is a combination of physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health. So we need to focus on all four to continue to grow. And if I was younger, I would have adopted it, but maybe this is the advice to the younger people. Focus on all four.
That was exactly the next closing question that I had, sir. Now, you've spent so many decades in the industry, healthcare or non-healthcare, towards the emerging generation of the healthcare leaders that we have now. Will there be any leadership lessons that you'd like to pass on to the next ones?
Leadership lessons, I can say a few, but I'm going to... Okay, let me first use a word which people will understand. See, in the organization, many organizations right now are in the capitalism mode. Capitalism is, you understand, my viewers will understand what capitalism is. So I think what we need now in this world is, I'm coining another word to it, adding another word to it, which is called compassionate capitalism, where you take care of the ecosystem. You take care of multiple stakeholders, whether it is the environment, whether it's the employees, whether it's the NGOs, whether it's the board. So managing multiple stakeholders through compassionate capitalism is the way to go in the future. But that's at higher level. But specifically, there are a few things which I can share with the senior leaders and emerging leaders. Is, we've grown up to acquire knowledge. Indians are very knowledge hungry people. We just want to acquire knowledge. But in this current environment, knowledge is available. It is the ability to use the knowledge which is important. Second thing is, nowadays you cannot use the phrase that I don't know. Ignorance is not an excuse. You acquire and you learn. So that is one thing which they have to do. The other thing you have to focus on is that always focus on growth, but never compromise on your ethics and integrity. It will come back to bite you. And that's not the right thing to do. And lastly, I mean, we can go on and on being agile and adaptable and technology and all those things are given. I think everybody knows that. But think about it that as the leadership journey continues, as people will grow in their career, they will become more and more solo performers in terms of that they will have a large team, but decisions will be taken by them. So they will be the person where the buck stops. So you need to be very, very careful about who you are. You need to know what your values are, what defines you, and how do you keep yourself motivated. There's nobody who's going to motivate a CEO. Nobody. And I can tell you, multiple people will come and tell the CEO why things are not going well. So to have a leadership position, you need to keep yourself motivated. And to keep yourself motivated, whether you are doing reading, whether you're doing exercise, whether you're doing meditation, you need to take care of your health and have that discipline to do things in a particular manner. Because if you don't do it, nobody is going to help you do it. So we can go on and on. That may be a separate podcast, but let me just stop at that. I hope it helps the viewers.
It definitely does. Well, while we are towards the conclusion of the discussion, allow me to thank you, sir, for all the lessons and experiences that you shared with us. It has been rather an impactful journey that you shared with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Khushbu. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you.